And we're live with a couple of total peers. And we'll be reviewing... yeah, my webcam doesn't work, yeah. Pressure Point, one of my favourite episodes of Planet 7. I'm in an ice cream at the moment, but I'll read through the episode synopsis from actually Tony Atwood's book, which is more of an exhaustive. In fact, what I can try and do is, as I read through this description, is show various things on screen. Try and be. There we go. Right, I'll click on my square. So, not Horizon. Pressure Point by Terry Nation. He's back. Right. The Liberator has returned to the vicinity of Earth's solar system, and the crew believe this is to enable Blake to observe the workings of Federation security. However, Blake suddenly announces his intention to take control, the center of all Federation computer networks. He believes its destruction would topple the Federation. After debating the point, the crew agreed to help. Blake has already gained the support of Kasabi, a resistance leader on Earth. But before Blake gets to Earth, Kasabi and her rebels are captured by Servalan and Travis. Kasabi's daughter, Veron, is forced to capture Blake just outside the Forbidden Zone, the heavily guarded center surrounding the control complex. Travis and Servalan make Kasabi reveal the location and the call sign which will bring Blake to the rendezvous. Blake and Gan teleport down and find Veron in a crypt. She explains that the resistance has been broken, but Blake decides to continue with the operation despite this. Avon and Villa teleport down, but Veron betrays them and steals their teleport bracelets, locking them in the crypt. At last, the crew escapes and makes for the Forbidden Zone. Right. The 4 members of the Liberator crew make their way through the various defense mechanisms surrounding the computer complex and eventually break into the room which is supposed to house the Federation's central computer system. However, upon entering, they discover that the central control room is totally empty. That's an example of a gap. A few seconds after they enter the room, Travis follows with 2 mutoids. He explains to Blake that the central control system was moved to an unknown 30 years before. However, the public are still encouraged to think that control was indeed on Earth, so that rebels like Blake would continue to attack it in the mistaken belief that they were in fact attacking the heart of the Federation. Before Travis has a chance to kill Blake and the others, Servalan is marched into the room by Veron and Jenna. Jenna has come looking for Blake when he failed to report in and was able to cross the Forbidden Zone after Travis had the minefield turned off in order to enable his own crossing. Servalan orders Travis to release his prisoners and Blake and the crew depart. Although Jenna has teleport bracelets with her, the crew are wary of using them so far underground and begin to make their way to the surface. Travis throws a strontium grenade after them, and in the ensuing explosion, the roof collapses and traps Gan, who dies. Suppose. Yep. Yes, he does. It's just that the actor was breathing. Blake and the others escape and return to the Liberator, aware of their own vulnerability. There we go. So, Jeff, what did you think of the episode?
Well, I like, assuming there's not some lame cop-out where Gan comes back to life, which could happen, then I like the fact that they killed off a main character because it shows that, you know, they're willing to do that. You know? They should have done it with Travis rather than replace him. But anyway,
Mhm.
because that's part of the problem with this is the new Travis is just not nearly as effective, and so his scenes
Yep.
just seem more amateurish than the rest of the show because of that. Because he stands out as just not seeming, I'm not even saying like he's some terrible actor, but it's just, I guess maybe the others look better in comparison.
Yeah.
And some of that obviously has to do with recasting in part, where there's already a difficulty in accepting, the new person in the role. But it's doubled by the fact that he just doesn't seem all that great, and so it just kind of creates a. He seems like he drags down the Supreme Commander chick with him somewhat. It's like
Yeah.
she doesn't seem as good because it's he kind of just drags her down. Um, so yeah, my comments at the time about the rebel leader's daughter was that she came across as kind of lame weakling girl trope, and yet she was tricking them, but then it was like somehow she was stupid enough to believe, despite having probably just lived all of her life in the situation where she's been brought
Yeah.
up and taught by her mother about the Federation, she somehow believed they were going to carry through on this deal they made with her.
But
So anyway,
sometimes people believe things because they want to believe them.
well, obviously, but I think she would have. They could have made her a more interesting character. I guess is the what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
Is that made her a tougher character that would be more believable as someone who had been brought up as the daughter of a rebellion leader. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it. It just seemed like they set her up to be. Well, she was stupid enough to fall for this, and I guess you could say that the Liberator crew were a little bit dumb to fall for her story, but I guess under the circumstances, it seemed somewhat believable. So they just have that it's convenient to the plot to have them all, not on their toes like they should be in a situation where at any moment they could, you know, have who knows what attack them. But I guess they sort of explain that by saying that that they don't need a security force because of the other. I mean, they don't need guards because of the other security that they have for their control center or whatever. So, um, but yeah, I liked the actual rebel leader herself. She seemed. I mean, I would have liked to
Oh
have
yeah,
seen
good
more of
actress.
her, more of her and less of some of the other people. But yeah, the ultimate confrontation was a little bit silly. I thought the one that they had back at the end of the last season on the other planet was a little bit better done, even though that was a little bit silly too. But this was even more.
Yeah.
So, but I did like the ending. With them sort of ramping up the, like you said, the vulnerability by having losing one of their main crew. Um, and if I recall correctly, Avon still had some pretty good lines. So
Oh
I
yeah.
thought it
He
was a
always
decent
does.
episode. Yeah. Not among the best that I've seen so far, but not among the worst either. It was kind of average, somewhere in the
Oh.
middle, I guess, with everything combined.
I think there's so many good bits. Like we got some backstory on Servalan, and I like that line from Kasabi where she said, "I should have tried to help you."
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, she
then we got,
seemed genuinely jarred by that a bit.
yeah,
Like
very good actress.
used to,
Yeah.
she's used to having the constant back and forth where she's smack talking basically about with her enemies
Yeah.
or even her friends, and so it was odd to her to have someone say something about I should have helped you.
Yeah. I mean, it's what the actress did is she sort of combined techniques. She sort of combined the theatrical techniques, British theatre training, and she also trained at the Actors Studio in New York. And so, for instance, at the end where you saw her slapping Travis, you could see that she was genuinely upset. And so
she came off a little childish there, though. Like, you hesitated, you booby face. You know what I mean? That's the way it came off. Kind of weird.
Yeah, but just in terms of the performance of the actress, sometimes she does it in a camp way, where she's a bit self-indulgent, a bit of a prima donna, because she's a bit like that in real life. But then also when she's taking it seriously and really going for like genuine emotion, and you'll see more of that in the forthcoming episodes. Now, one of the things with Travis is I don't think his hairstyle is appropriate, because it's more of, for want of a better word, it's more of a pretty boy's hairstyle than Travis's. I mean, it looks like, that's a hairstyle that, a military guy's not going to have a hairstyle like that. That needs a lot of comb action.
I don't know. I mean,
So,
I didn't really notice that one way or the other. He's just unimpressive.
yeah, I mean, Rife is a very good actor. He won a lot of medals at RADA, the guy that did it previously, and he was working on a sitcom at the time called Citizen Smith, playing a gangster boss. So this is how we start the episode, with these two, and then they get stuck to the ground, and then, oh no, I can't move, and then they blow some dummies up. And then, what we got here? I always put in these aerial shots in.
That was actually a pretty impressive effect. I liked that explosions of the people.
Oh yeah, they were good with the explosions, because there was less health and safety in those days. So, but like you're always talking about this seating area. So every time I see one of these big shots, I'm always going to take a photo of it. Because you thought they expanded the seating area for bounty.
I don't know. It just looked different. It's looked different every time a little bit.
Yeah, well, what I try and do is to try and shoot it from different angles to vary things up. But it also, what it might be is, this is not a standing set. This is a set that is disassembled and reassembled, because they use the studio for other productions. Right then, so what do you think of the lobster outfit?
The red lizard thing, you mean?
Yep. Take your pick.
I guess
You want to call it the red lizard?
Yeah, it's not very good.
Oh, I thought it was okay.
They were back to the lousy costumes this time, because they had the Jenna with the blue thing with the golden spiders, and then the Supreme Commander had that outfit that looked like there was a lizard trying to crawl up into her cleavage.
Yeah. In the Maximum Power book, just reach over it. I've left it in the scanner. In the next story that I'm not going to show you, because there's a few spoilers in it, which was a fake plot anyway by Trevor Hoyle, is that they referred to it, and this is a fake bit from the next fake episode. Another twisted flashback for Blake, and another few pennies thrown David. No, not that one. Servalan's costumes design a series of their own after last week's boob blizzard. So yeah, they call it the boob blizzard.
Yeah. That was a little distracting. It was like, oh,
Yep.
destination.
Yeah, Jeff.
Project Lizard. I should have called it. That should have been the name of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Jenna was a little bit overdressed in this episode.
Well, and Callie, has that outfit looks like she's wearing a cape. Like, why would you go down to a mission? I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like any of the missions that they go on, wherever that you would want to have a cape on.
Yeah, I mean, there would have been enough time for them to change their clothes for when they went down. But I mean, it was silly things like, oh, they only had the budget for a certain number of outfits. So it would have been things like that.
Yeah, I think it would have been more realistic, though, maybe to just have them wear the same ones for longer instead of switching back and forth between, because it makes it seem like that, they do laundry every day or something.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things...
Maybe they do. Maybe it's easy on them. They should have had one throwaway line about,
right.
Throwing something down the laundry chute and had, like, instant laundry doing or something,
After this season, I can show you a little 17-minute feature with the costume designer. And my personal opinion is that the costume designer was self-indulgent and was doing stuff for herself rather than for the best of the series, because she came up with some wacky stuff, and it was like this. I think she's called June Hudson. It was like she was experimenting rather than doing what is best for because that's what she was talking about, her attitude on it. And I just thought, no, you're not supposed to take that view when you do it. It's people building their own parts rather than knowing where they are within the structure, not to like bring everything down by overplaying their part, being self-indulgent. Right. Here we go. So the Federation Computer Complex. What else have we got? Oh yeah, what did you think of the Avon and Blake scenes?
Oh, when they were discussing like their plans for after they take control or whatever. I mean, I didn't think much about it, but it seemed in character.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sort of made me like reminded though that I don't really care that much. I mean, it's like I still don't really care about their mission or what happens to them afterwards. So it's like, that in itself isn't really interesting to me. What their plans are for if they ever do something else.
Just imagine they're fighting for Texas against the federal government.
That would be a very different crew, I think, in that scenario.
That would be quite funny. Like you could do like an audio sketch of what all the voices would be like. Like a Texan Avon.
Even knowing as little as I know about Britain, I can imagine that there are plenty of areas within, even just in England, that would be saying, our Blake 7 crew would not be that bunch of wimpy Londoners that's on this show. That's just a guess, but I have a feeling that there'd be quite a few different regions around there that would say, just give us a chance, our crew will do it. Better than these whatevers. I don't know enough English slang to know what they would call them, but
What did you think of? What did you think of Blake in this episode?
He seemed pretty much like he always is.
Did you think it was more extreme than usual?
Not really. I mean, he seems, like I said before, he seems pretty singularly focused. He just sort of has his idea to do is, and thinks everything sort of falls into place after that. And Avon still, is looking at it like he wants to have more of a, of a wider viewpoint or a contingency plan or things like that. So he's looking at Blake as being too single-minded, I think.
I mean, like, this is an example of that costume designer where she's all about her own ideas. Anyhow, so yeah, I think that's the limiter. So even though they never referred to the limiter in season B because Chris Boucher thought it was like something that got in the way, and it was a bit of subtext that they never really went into. Because, and it is consistent, the idea that it was supposed to be some sort of, the subtext being that he was a sex criminal, and they never really, but it was like very...
They seemed to make him act goofier the last few episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, he just seemed like he was different.
Yeah.
Like, to be like, he was sort of the muscle guy, but he had the backstory, but they didn't really get into much of it, and then the last few episodes he seemed a little bit weirder.
Yeah,
and not like weirder in like, I mean, they had the one where he like the limiter or whatever, something went wrong in that, and his brain made him act weird, or whatever. But this was like he just seemed goofier, like
Yeah,
I don't know.
They had a meeting. Terry Nation decided that in order to make things more, he had a meeting with the producers and he said, "Hey, we got to kill one of the crew off to like get some more drama." And you know who he wanted to kill off? Terry Nation.
Squirrely.
Yes, he wanted to kill off Swirly because he didn't like the performance of the actor. And Chris Boucher and David Maloney said, "No, he is the really popular character with the audience."
Was he really?
Yeah. And even you've been growing on. He's been growing on you as Swirly. You complimented the actor last episode.
Well, yeah. No, like I said, I'll compliment things when I think they're. I still don't really like the character that much. Like, I mean, if I was on the crew, I'd be like more like Avon's attitude toward him, probably. Like, but I can relate to him in certain ways, like I discussed before, but. So, but yeah, they seem to lack a little bit of, I don't know, it's tough to say exactly what to call it. I wouldn't say it's entirely just toughness, because obviously they have the endurance to go through a bunch of different things, but they just don't come off as like, the tough band of misfits kind of stuff. They come off a little too polished.
Yeah, that's the.
Seem to really know what they're doing that much.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing with the. I think the Gareth Thomas is quite good with showing the toughness of Blake, but as you know, with Avon, he's an NT.
Avon is pretty believable to me, but you have one guy on the crew that sort of fills that role. And I thought at the beginning it was going to be Jenna that was sort of like the rogue tough girl type or whatever, but she only just sort of has certain moments they make her that way, and then most of the time she could be like, housewife or something. She's just like doesn't seem to be consistent that way.
Yeah, because like it's mainly the dynamic. I mean, in terms of this, I would have. See, I don't know if I would have removed the cowardice from Villa, or tone
mean,
it down. I don't know.
I could contrast Jenna with somebody like Howard from Homicide and say that Howard has her emotional moments, but she still maintains sort of that tough chick thing the whole time, even when she does that. Like, she doesn't seem to lose that edge, and it seems like with Jenna that it's like sometimes she has a little bit, but other times, they sort of forget about that. She just is generic female character.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like they've tried to include her as much as they can.
I agree with what Morgan said, though. Sometimes they just sort of use her as, the female character for that particular plot, and as opposed to maintaining her own individual personality as much.
It's usually, I mean, as you see, it's based around those three, isn't it? It's based around Blake, Avon, and Villa, with Villa as the light relief, and a lot of interplay between Villa and Avon. And the other characters are pretty much the supporting cast. In like Callie, like as the NF voice, the voice of conscience, and then some telepathy every now and then. Jenna as the pilot and used when necessary. Did we hear Aurak in this episode?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think the mayor said in the book that they gave him the day off, Peter Tuddenham. I don't think we heard Zen either.
Yeah.
No, we did it at the end. We did it at the end. Yeah. Yeah, we did it at the end, yeah. I'm going to be a big handicap. I think INTJ they really wish they could be this guy.
Which guy?
As witty as Avon.
Oh.
Yeah, they wish they could have the put downs he has. I like the timing here, like can they go on? And he's got no, not a chance. It's absolutely impossible. So I think he has good comic timing, Paul Keating, and he. Yeah, it's not a spoiler because the episode's set during season B. There's a one where it really plays up the comedy where they've got a two-hander where Avon's playing the android and Villa's playing the creator of the android. So you really see Villa in like artisan mode of the ability to adapt and pretend to be the creator of Avon, the android. And so and the way he plays the comedy, it's because his voice has not changed much, Paul Keating's, even though he's in his 70s. So that's a fun episode. And once I've listened to the rest of it, it might be possible to listen to that. So that at a suitable point. Now, what we got here? Well, unless you can come up with something. Oh, people can read that themselves. They were watching it. Certain Death. Now, out of all those characters, which one do you think I relate to most?
Did you relate to?
Yeah, out of all of the crew of.
Well, I mean, you said Avon's the NT, so that would be my first guess. But I'm sort of thinking that maybe you're trying to imply it's somebody else. So
No,
I don't know.
Actually, it's Villa.
All right.
Oh yes. Thinking of I felt that Gareth Thomas gave a very good performance, except towards the end, and this is one of the problems with the British acting style, is when, like for instance, the British, that kind of theatrical system is like they're almost taught from the outside in, where it's like how to change your voice, all of these things, how to speak, make yourself clear, all of that sort of stuff. And so it was when he did the bit when he's in the empty room, and then he's on his knees, this bit. This is when he hit a few false notes in terms of his acting. But like the rest of the episode, he was like really good. And that, when he like goes into the room, that is what is known as a gap. And that is what Robert McKee talks about as the substance of the story. It's like he has experienced that gap, and then the way. So, for instance, Robert McKee talks about the gap between the expectation and the result. He was expecting, when he went through that door, to see this huge control room, and that's the result, an empty room. And that's a surprise.
My favorite Simpsons producer and writer, David Merkin, called that screw the audience, which was his favorite thing to do. Of course, using it in comedy, but, it can be used in drama too, where, it's basically like you set up the audience expectations for one thing and then you twist it up.
Right. Yeah, and that goes back to Aristotle, where he talked about his version of the gap was I've just been pinged. Who's pinged me? Right, well, I'm going to close that and read that later on. Right. Where he called it the reversal and the recognition. So that's him going through the gap, and then how he reacts. And then another gap for Blake is when Gan's killed. I mean, he wasn't expecting Gan to be killed, and then it's like, so these things happen to characters, and then it's how they react to these things that show you something about their true character, their true nature beneath the persona. So we can go back. That's what we've got here. Kasabi, we've done that. Because basically I just kept up with the... Did we do that bit there? Oh yeah, that's her taking the bracelets. Yeah, I felt there was something weird, an error. Like he says down. Gan shouts down when the canister, but then the canister is thrown a couple of seconds later, and then the gas comes out. So I think they got the sequencing wrong for that.
Yeah, that whole scene was a little bit awkward, and then Morgan commented about how it was like the gas starts coming out and they immediately cut to them being all on the floor, and it seemed like there wasn't anything that really indicated that time had passed. It was like this instantaneous thing. So that was a little bit awkwardly done.
I think Morgan quite liked this bit when Travis gave her a chop. That was the impression I got from the commentary.
Travis gave what?
Gave her a chop.
Chop.
Across the shot, and it knocked her out. Knocked out Veron. Yeah, she appears in a Doctor Who story that Jeff probably hasn't seen yet in the 1980s, and she looks quite different in terms of let's just say she develops nicely. Right.
Okay.
Pardon?
I said okay.
Yeah, you'll think more than that when you see her.
Who are we talking about now?
This chick here, the chick who played Yolande Palfrey. Because you see her, it's about 6 years later, 6 or 7 years later, you see her in Child of a Time Lord, which is
okay.
Because you're not seeing that yet.
That's right. That's all you need to tell me on that. Yeah, I saw bits of Child of Time Lord back when I was a kid, but I really don't remember much about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll see it eventually.
That was a good line from Avon when he was talking about when they had to race across the defense zone. There is no room for a good loser in this race. And we've got all the. I think Gano's like this fitted him well in terms of yeah, they got a bit of a lobster going on there, and that makes it look even worse with the trousers. Yeah, you kept this was one of the things I heard on commentary where you were talking about going down this thing. What I might have done is put a big number on the side.
Oh, do you mean the stairs?
Yes, I mean these things. Sometimes they lit it differently, like here, But that I wouldn't have. That I wouldn't. What I might have done is change the camera angle. When instead of using the same camera angle all the while, and then they did light it differently there. Also, when they kept coming around this corner, yes, they changed the lighting, but it was always the camera was always set up at the same angle. They could have just shot it at a different angle to make it look like, because they're always going around that corner. I mean, it's almost like they'll be going around in circles if they keep making left turns all the while. And I mean, there we go, down the ladder again. But again, they changed the lighting a little bit. But all right, and then we go. Then they're at the door, and then Blake is really hardcore. Behind this door is the key to it all, control. So he really wants to get in there. That computer is the most vital part of Federation power.
And then he celebrates when there's nothing there.
Yeah, I just thought that was a fun, and because folks, we're thinking of doing some Twilight Zone, and that was one of those Twilight Zone. I mean, it could have been a Twilight Zone episode where they break in, and I mean that's a good line. With the thickness of this door away from destroying them, and then you can. So, and then that just maybe that to me that was like a Twilight Zone moment. Nothing. Yeah, and as I said before, this is where his performance hit a few, because like I said, it's the acting style is that in England at the time they weren't taught to act from the inside out, where they're really feeling it. I mean, Jacqueline Pierce could do that because she trained in America as well, and so sometimes with the British acting style is they can't. I mean, sometimes some Americans cheat by using emotion memory, where they would use a substitution of, say, something from their own past that made them cry, and they would think about that in order to make them cry in a genuine way. So so a substitution, emotion memory, doing all these acting exercises where they hold on to powerful memories, hold on to emotions, all of this sort of stuff that would come from the inside out. And right, so that is again something from the. I mean, and you said that this guy. It's part of the acting styles.
Yeah. So I'll be generous. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because there was enough good stuff to keep me interested the whole time for the most part. I don't know, it started to drift a little bit towards the end, but anyway.
I'll just show this dialogue for the audience. I won't read it out, but I'll just go through the slides of this, and they can read it themselves. this idea that it would attract the attention, and then the real control somewhere out there becomes invisible. Because they were attacking the Phantom instead. And they've been setting this up for previous episodes. They've been talking about control. They mentioned it in Horizon. I think they mentioned it in yeah, even Travis doesn't know where it is. But it's there somewhere. Yeah, that was good, that bit. Gives substance and credibility to an empty room, and the real thing becomes undetectable, virtually invisible. And then, I did some grabs of Jacqueline Pierce's good waist to hip ratio, where hips are as wide as the shoulders. That's good. There you got the, what is it, the boob lizard, I think that's called. Oh, now we can proceed. At least they had that thing where it's like, you know how they say, oh, why didn't he kill them? And it's like, we'll just put that in, like, I'll just point this at you. I could kill you if I wanted to, but, you know I can beat you. And then we can get to the climax, which is... Oh, here we go. Gan's foot getting caught. Yes, you're not worth dying for. And then you actually see, I don't know if you could see it, Jeff, but you could see him breathing. Could you see him breathing?
I didn't notice that, no. But I wasn't staring at him real hard.
Right.
It seems to be something that you look for, whereas I usually don't. It has to be a pretty, long shot of somebody before I start noticing such things.
Right, now we can... and then there's this chroma key around the... BBC called it colour separation overlay. And then it ends with Blake looking at the empty chair of Gan. And there's the actor that played Gan. And then we've got this weird thing here. Brian Croucher for Travis and Chris Boucher for the script editor. And so sometimes it can be easy to get those names mixed up. Now, where are the flipping... Oh, no! Is it gone missing? Where's the... There should be something in here. The... Oh, no! I can't find them! Where did they go?
Great voice.
Well, I'll have to read it out.
By the way, yesterday you made me think that I need to have you do voices in my audio drama, because you did a pretty good job of that Aurak voice.
Oh, thank you. Even though I messed up a couple of the lines. Right.
I mean, that's that same voice you did. We could use that for some character.
Oh, thank you. Right. What we got here? I'll put here. Blake doesn't shoot Travis because he owns him. I thought the church set was quite good, quite well lit. Sometimes, when Gan was barging the door, it did wobble a bit, and then also when a bit of wobblage there. Now, what I'm trying to find is the I did a scan, and what I will try and do is where is it? It should be on there, and but no, it's not in there. Now where? No, it doesn't load. Right, okay, here we go. Right, what I'll do is I'll read it out then, because we're having problems with technology today, folks. So I will read out the maximum power book. Here we go.
As long as it's not too long, because
No. Yeah, this will be the climax of the review. I mean, I'm not doing the Liberation book. This is just the comedy book. Pressure Point. Writer, Terry Nation, open brackets, is back, exclamation points. Director, George Spenton Foster. I think he did quite well. Guest stars. Alan Haley as Arl, Jane Sherwin as Kasabi, Martin Connor as Berg, Sue Bishop as Mutoid, Joseph Cotter as Dr. Verselius. No, that's a lie. He's never in that character. Violan Palfrey as Veron. Look out for her in 6 years' time. Right. Opening shot. Two resistance fighters bicker like frightened girls about whether they should enter the Forbidden Zone. You just described the story. Jenna, you're suggesting that we go into the Forbidden Zone and attack Control? Random insult. Avon, referring to the Liberator crew. Not very bright, but loyal. In a nutshell. Pressure pointless. Ooh. Story. In a desperate attempt to get themselves noticed, Blake decides the crew should return to Earth and attack Control, the central computer network for the whole of the Federation. Unfortunately, after a lot of toing and froing, they find themselves in a big empty room because they're in the wrong place. Hot-footing it, they lose Gan to a slowly closing door. Information. The inside of the cottage doesn't really square with the outside. I thought it was okay. Has Villa got a bad shoulder or something? He appears to be wearing a sling. Just a bit of a joke. I see what they mean, but he wasn't. Right. Who exactly are all the other people who have been trying to attack Control? Travis is a complete nutcase by now. He's probably some sort of monstrous sexual deviant too. Kasabi's face is filthy. Get a washwoman. Blake. As far as I can see, it's all clear. No, it isn't. It's full of trees. It's nice to see Gan getting something to do at last. He's really started to show a bit of potential as a character. And then we've got a bit of a joke paragraph. Setting part of the episode in an old church is an interesting touch. They borrowed the set from a guy called Alan, who swore he used it in the Avengers. At least that's what the production documentation says. What are those squeaking things that we hear every time that we are on location? We don't have any creatures on Earth that make that sort of noise, do we? Callie continues her character development by having nothing to do yet again. We do wish that Avon wouldn't wear that horrid red leather uniform. It does nothing for him. Hey, look at what Servalan's chameleon is doing. Hey. Sue Bishop's performance as the mutoid is a bit off, maybe. Blimey, Gan's dead. Closing shot. Gan's chair followed by a picture of Earth. Delightful dialogue. Avon, what's the matter, Blake? Don't you trust your friends? Blake, of course, I trust them in the same way I trust you. Amateur hour. The dummies that represent Arl and Berg being blown up don't blow very up. The homing beacon doesn't exactly look to be the height of technology, does it? The ladders that the team climbed down are all, in fact, the same ladder. We noticed. Nation was so proud of himself for coming up with the name Kasabi that he wrote it into every line of dialogue, sometimes twice. On-set rewrites were hastily carried out when Spenton Foster noticed that the cast was still saying it 20 minutes after her death. It's probably a joke paragraph. David Jackson fluffs a line in his big episode when he tries to say the teleport will have to be precise. And not much left now. Additional scraps of knowledge. Terry Nation Street. Oh no, I've lost sound. Terry Nation Street. Terry's back. Radiation again. What is it with him and radiation? Did he have a bad experience with an X-ray machine or something? Planets, Earth, spacisms, high intensity radiation grid, sono gas, some stuff about repair mesh. And I think that is it. Oh yes, what did Morgan think of the episode?
At some point when you were asking about ratings, he said meh out of 10.
Oh, okay. Well, at least it wasn't like in a couple of episodes before where it's like saying this is trash, which is what he did.
Yeah, I don't remember him saying that. I just think he was bored by it.
Yeah, I think he said that with I think he said that with Shadow, this is trash, and then with I can't remember what else. There was another one that Shadow he wasn't impressed with, and then Weapon. Yes, Shadow and Weapon made him say this is trash, but the other one's okay. Right then. Anything else, Jeff?
Nope.
Right. So I'll give it 10. So it's goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I always